So hey guys, just want to take a real quick second here to say thank you to all you guys that took the time to fill out that survey. There's a lot of great constructive criticism. There was a lot of great feedback. Just a lot of value was gained out of that. Today I'm going to share one of the projects that I was kind of working on. It's not really a homestead related project, but I think there's a lot of people that do live out in the country and have a very similar struggle, and maybe this can help you out. So for Grace's birthday, she ended up getting a pool from Grandma. It's something we've been talking about for a long time, but been putting off mostly because of our well water. You can fill up a glass of water from our faucet. It's nice and clear. If you go out and fill up a glass of water at one of our hydrants where it doesn't run through any of our filtration system, it's nice and clear until you let it sit and settle for a while. Then if you add any sort of pool shock and chlorine to the mix, it just looks like a muddy mess. So sure enough, as soon as we added the pool shock, things got pretty swampy looking. My wife jumped online, found someone else's plan where they took a bucket, they shoved a bunch of like polyfill, like similar stuff that they put in like stuffed animals, and then he took basically a tube from a wet vac that was tapered and ran it through there, and then used a little hose clamp to hold that in place. So we ran into town, went to the local hardware store, and took a real quick look at the pool hoses to figure out what size. There's two different sizes out. There's 1 1/4 and there's 1 1/2 inch. Since we have the smaller pool, it's the 1 1/2. And then we had to figure out some way to rig up the system. I was looking for something a little bit more beefier than the wet vac hose, so this is what I came up with. So these are all the supplies we used. We have a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. We have Polyfill, which is a polyester fiber, very similar to what they put in pillows and stuffed animals. We used about a pound of that. This is the 3-pound bag. I think they sell those at the store for around $8. And then we got our different fittings down here. So these are our fittings here. This is where all the time was spent at the hardware store trying to figure this out. This piece here will fit right through, you know, your bucket. Nice little rubber seals here, make a nice connection. Now the complicated part is when we're working with these hoses, ours was 1 1/4 inch. The other standard, like I mentioned, is 1 1/2 inch. And it gets a little complicated because we're, you know, you would think, oh, I could just go get a fitting that was 1 1/4 inch or 1 1/2 inch. But you're kind of working with inner and outer diameter. So we had to find something that would just barely fit inside that 1 1/4 inch. So what we found was this piece here, which was a 1 inch. And we had to find a way to go from 3/4 to, you know, this 1 inch. So what we ended up finding was just a little 3/4 inch that extended out. And then this actually goes from a 3/4 thread to a 1 inch on the outside. So it just barely about 1 1/4 inch with, you know, obviously the size of the threads, and this fit nice and perfect in there. We were able to put a hose clamp on there. So this pretty much, we drilled the hole through the bucket, put this on in. Then we took our Teflon tape, wrapped up our pipe, screwed this into place, got everything all tightened up, and then we hook our hose right on up to that. Then we drilled a bunch of holes on the top part of the lid. I used a 3/8 bit. And then the plan is just on the top half here, so all the iron and everything stays down below, and then the clean water can flow out. After we got all our connections sealed up, we just start filling it with the polyfill. So when we set ours up, we had the inlet on the very bottom, and then when we put the lid on, we made sure that was on the other side, so that way the flow would come up and out the top. So you can see there's 2 lines that run down, connect up to a single hose, run down to a filter, then it runs from that filter and pushes that water back into the pool. So if you look here, your pool should have came with a little plug. You take this plug and you go on the inside of your pool and push that in. That will close off that hole, and then you can disconnect this hose and connect it directly to your home-built filter. So ours, I think, is the smallest pool that they make. You know, Grace is just learning to swim. But the one struggle is ours didn't come with a ladder at all. Basically, you need to get that bucket, hoist it up over the water, have it so it sits level so none of the iron is leaking back into the pool. But, you know, of course, being over the pool. So you could take a ladder. What we ended up doing was just taking a couple sawhorses, laying a board across it, and then just putting something underneath both sides of the bucket to prevent it from rolling. And then with all that weight, it seemed to sit still, and it did its job. So for us, it took about 48 hours to fully clear. It was noticeably different overnight. And just need a little bit more time. We'd go out there every once in a while, stir up, you know, anything in the bottom, try to get as much of that iron back up so it would then flow back through that system. You just need to give a little bit more time. I think the other guy, he had a much larger pool than us that we saw in his example, and I think for him it took about 4 days. So for the total cost, it was around $15, $20. You could shave off some of that, you know, if you have things laying around, polyfill, maybe some PVC piping, maybe you get your bucket, whatever. One other way to cut some of the costs is try to utilize some PVC parts. We had a harder time finding the sizes we need. The hardware store we went to wasn't very big, so it wasn't a very big selection. We ended up going with galvanized, and galvanized is quite a bit more expensive than a PVC type fitting. So I hope this helps someone out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.